Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host on, and this is another episode on the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Now, welcome back to the Baseball Hut Archives, where we're going to talk about the WFAN, the legendary radio station here in New York. Sports talk started there in Astoria, New York. It's a little town in Queens, and you can see the city, right from Astoria. And they were there for a long time, but now they're in the city, and now that they've gone further from where they originally are, I don't know where they are now in the city. There must be some, I don't know, it's Creedmoor or Bellevue. Might be Bellevue at this point. It might as well be. But they love to attack a target. It doesn't matter whose target it is. And if there's brushback on them, other members, other employees at that company will attack the target. Now, the other day, Tuesday, New York Giants running back, former New York Giants running back, signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. And they pretend, and this is one thing that WFN loves to do, they love to pretend that they're the fans. They love to tell you that they know what's going on. They have their finger on the pulse. No. They talk for themselves. They talk for their corporation. And some of these doomcuffs will tell, wow, they call us. You screen the calls. They screen the calls. These guys are behind the, when they show them behind the board, these clowns, these even smaller people, these even smaller lightweights, you think that they're not like screening the calls to get these hosts to get triggered and pissed off? It's all meant for the show. It's all for show. Well, Barkley signed with the Eagles, like I said. Tiki Barber, who is a former New York Giant, who's also the host on the afternoon show with Evan Roberts. Now, Tiki was a very good Giant. They just called him an icon. He's not an icon. He didn't win a Super Bowl here. We'll get into Tiki's history, because now we're starting to see this sort of back and forth between him and I guess somebody that played for the Giants and was in the NFL for a long time, but he's in the media too. Now, Tiki came out and said that Saquon Barkley was dead to him. Now, I had to find some of the stuff that was said from Ryan Clark, who's this NFL player. And he went after Barkley because they played together with the Giants for a couple of years. And Clark went on, he had a pretty good career. He played for 13 years. This is a guy that didn't get drafted. So this is a guy that has a pretty good idea of what kind of guy Barkley was behind the scenes in the locker room for the New York Giants. Now, I had a very difficult time finding these articles on what Ryan Clark said, because all these articles are popping up about what Tiki said and about what these clowns that he works with said to Ryan Clark back. So let me read you. I got a couple of articles here. This is from the U.S. Sun. I had to dig really deep to find out what Ryan Clark said. Headline, NFL beef. Ryan Clark goes into 2-minute rant on dead to me foolishness by ex-Giants teammate Tiki Barber over Barkley remark. Now, there is a video, which I watched. I am not going to play it. Former NFL star turned ESPN media personality Ryan Clark sounded off on an ex-teammate's comments about Saquon Barkley leaving the New York Giants. The 44-year-old ESPN analyst called out former Giants legend. He's great. He was a good player. I wouldn't go that far. Again, he never won a Super Bowl. And we'll get into Tiki in a few minutes. Tiki Barber in a fiery rant on Thursday for his dead-to-me remark about Barkley while sharing a personal story from their time together in New York. Barber said Saquon Barkley was dead to him after he left the Giants this offseason. He signed a 3-year deal for $37 million. Pretty good deal for him. Barkley spent the first 6 seasons of his career in the NFL with the Giants after being selected in the first round in 2018. He left the team this week in free agency and signed with divisional rival Eagles on a 3-year deal worth up to $37.75 million. Following the news, Barber, now a radio host on the insane asylum WFAN, blasted Barkley for leaving. Dead to us, quote, end quote. You're dead to us, Saquon, Barber said. Now, I would mention, he said after this that he was joking. Tiki Barber is not known for his knock-knock jokes. He is not known as a guy that has a lot of fun. He's a very serious guy. Barkley quickly fired back at Barber on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Tiki Barber. LOL, yep. You're the prime example of loyalty to a team. I got the deal I wanted, secured more GM, which wasn't given to me before. So fans are going to hate me for that, so be it. But I never turned my back on my teammates and always had theirs. Now, Barkley did come out and apologize for the things, not towards Barber, but towards the fans. He felt that he should have done a better job of saying goodbye. Barkley seemingly referring to Barber's abrupt retirement after getting into it with the organization and calling it quits in 2006. Okay? The Giants went on to win the Super Bowl the year after Barber retired. Now, a couple of things. Barber was known as one of these players that was like a locker room lawyer. He was the kind of guy that was, quote unquote, known to backstab other players. And he loved to goof on and make fun of Eli Manning. Eli Manning had a very difficult time running the team and being the leader of this team because of him and another player known a tight end, Jeremy Shockey. Shockey got traded that offseason. And he got traded to the Chiefs. Now, Barber retired. And, of course, the Giants won the Super Bowl the following year. And then 4 years later, they won another Super Bowl, beating Tom Brady twice. And Barber was known, and I said this, that he wanted to be a big star in the media. One of the reasons he retired is he wanted to be a big media star. He was on TV. I think he was on the Today Show, wasn't he? For a while. I think he was doing stuff locally here in New York. Like telecast and doing sportscast. So he was desperate. I mean, he really wanted to do all this stuff. Clark played with Barber for 2 seasons during the first 2 years of his NFL career and suggests the ex-running back was a terrible teammate and had no right to call out Barkley. He shared a video to his social media account of a clip from his podcast, The Pivot, which details his time with Barber and expresses his satisfaction with Barber getting paid. I want to read you this. I couldn't believe I was watching this. Congrats to the family at Saquon. Excited he's now been given what he earned, Clark tweeted. It's unfortunate that on the day he and his family were celebrating his new deal, he was forced to address Tiki Barber's dead-to-me foolishness. Clark went on to share in his video that Tiki never made young players feel welcomed, and that this inspired him to never do that to anyone. I mean, a very inappropriate thing that Tiki said, and he never apologized for it. He said, I'm joking. Tiki's not known for his sense of humor. I say sense of humor because I think it's funny. Quote, Tiki was one of the veterans along with Michael Strahan when I played for the Giants, and he taught me everything I refused to be as a veteran. Tiki was a very good player, but definitely not just one of the guys everybody could rock with. I guess some things never change. Barber responded to Clark's comments on Thursday and expressed the two don't have a relationship. Now I'm going to read you the next thing. Now this is from Odyssey.com. Odyssey is the parent company of WFAN. Obviously above them is CBS Sports. A couple of things. Odyssey claimed bankruptcy. So WFAN is in a precarious position right now. They're probably going to get sold. So they're in a very difficult situation. They're in a desperate situation with the ratings and everything else. But Tiki is not used to any kind of criticism. None of them are. But Tiki's one of these guys, like I said, he's got no sense of humor. He never had a sense of humor as a player. He doesn't come across as anyone that, to me, that he's not telling jokes. Nobody's turning the radio on, saying, what did Tiki say? I'm sure Tiki had something funny to say. Nobody's saying that. Here's the Odyssey. Tiki fires back at Ryan Clark taking shots over Saquon Barkley comments. Let's see. ESPN's Ryan Clark took shots at Tiki on Thursday for his dead-to-me comments about Saquon Barkley leaving the Giants for the Eagles. And after hearing the comments on the Evan and Tiki show, Tiki fired back. Here's what Tiki had to say after hearing Clark criticize Tiki for the way he handled young players coming into New York, which Tiki says was glaringly misinformed and simply untrue. Now, one thing to understand. Tiki's relationship with the Giants' former head coach, Tom Coughlin, is so bad, folks, that after he retired in 2006, Tiki has not spoken to Coughlin. That's 18 years ago. They've not spoken since. And he has admitted that on the air. He admitted it on his show in the afternoon a few months back. So let me read you what he had to say. Wow, Ryan Clark, you are making blank up, Tiki said. Because you don't know me like that, dude. I don't even realize how long you were on the Giants. Your first year, you were a practice squad player. And you were on the defensive side of the ball. What is he talking about? That I didn't embrace young players. Ask Brandon Jacobs if I embrace him. Ask Derek Ward if I embrace him. Ask David Deal or Richie Siebert. Or any of those guys on my side of the ball if I embraced them. What the hell is he talking about? It's like he's fitting a narrative. He's acting like I'm still a player when it pertains to my comments on Saquon Barkley. He's kissing Saquon's ass to ingratiate himself with Saquon. His comments make no sense because he's not talking about someone he knows well enough to talk about. He knows the reputation. Quote, I honestly don't remember interacting with him as a player. I thought he was a decent player, went on and had an okay career, won a Super Bowl, I give him kudos. But now he's a bigwig at ESPN. He thinks he can just take shots and wear his gospel? That Michael Strahan and Sean O'Hara aren't still my friends? What are you talking about? Evan and the rest of the crew backed up Tiki with stories about how welcoming and friendly he's been to the Giants fans since they've known him. And since Clark only played parts of 2 seasons in New York, Tiki says those comments were uninformed. It's an opportunistic shot that he's taking because he thinks he's going to gain an advantage by being a jackass to me. Congratulations, Ryan. Good luck in your career as well. Shut the hell up, Ryan Clark. Please, you sound like a fool. And here's the thing. The biggest thing was that he attacked Barkley. And none of these comments does he mention Barkley. Okay, he doesn't say to the audience, his audience, saying, you know what, maybe I should have thought differently about what I wanted to say. Instead, their answers, well, some of the fans think that way. I don't think that way. Barkley's been in a difficult situation here with the Giants. The Giants have been terrible. I feel bad that he's had to be on these bad teams. And it's not his fault that the quarterback is dead from the neck up. He has no heart. He's terrible. It's not his fault that there have been bad coaches here. It's not his fault they've had bad drafts. Been bad since 2008. It's not his fault. Or 2012. It's not his fault. And finally in this video, we're going to talk about the insane guy at the station. And this is not the first time he has put himself in the middle of one of these controversies with other members and other employees at WFAN. That's Greg Giannotti, who's part of the Boomer and GL show in the morning. We know that from back in November 2023, when there was that controversy with Carl Banks, and how Carl Banks basically said that, look, we need to be more positive about what we're talking about here. It can't all be negative. And that basically set off everybody at the fan, because they know he was called out, and I've been calling them out. I would mention that on this channel, we'll be talking a lot about the Mets, how they treat the Mets. I've been able, and people, by calling, these videos have had a positive effect on the programming at their station. They're not attacking the Mets like they have been. They've been more fair. So at least they're listening. I know they've been listening. But Greg Giannotti is nuts. He admits he's nuts. That he has a lot of anger issues. And he's the same guy that has threatened. Last summer, he threatened to call to beat him up. Because he's too open about himself on the air. He shouldn't be opening up things he doesn't want to talk about on the air. Okay? And the caller made fun of him. And he basically threatened to beat him up. That's another trope of the people at WFAN. They make all kinds of threatening comments about whoever they're talking about in town. We know that Boomer Esiason is very well known to make all kinds of threatening comments about his whatever the topic is of the day. But here we have from Odyssey.com, and Greg likes to interject himself in this situation. I couldn't understand why he interjected himself on not only on Odyssey but also on Twitter, attacking friends of Carl Banks, and now we have him interjecting himself again to the point that Greg he's a loser. Okay, he acts like a loser. He talks like a loser. He doesn't have his own personality. If he doesn't do these very generic and very localized kind of impersonations of the people that have worked at the fan, he's not known for anything else, just these impressions. It's always known for. Because if you take away that, he's basically like everybody else at the station. Here's from Odyssey.com. Gio rips D-bag Ryan Clark in defense of Tiki. You're the classy guy, my ass you are. This is the kind of rhetoric we deal with this screwball. Tiki already responded to Brian Clark ripping him as a teammate. But Greg wanted to make sure he came to Tiki's defense as well. Oh, that's so brave, Greg. Oh, so brave. I salute you, Greg, for coming out in defense of another employee at the fan. Having had personal and direct experiences with Clark, Greg ripped the current ESPN analyst of what he had to say. Okay, I'd like to know what those personal and direct experiences are. If you're going to talk about it in this article, then we'd like to know. Gio ripped the current ESPN analyst for what he had to say about Tiki and for his behavior during his time in the NFL. I've talked about Ryan Clark before, my interaction with him in Pittsburgh, and he had a deal to come on with us once a week when he was still an active player for the Steelers. And one day he said he was sick and couldn't go on the show, and then he was up on ESPN on their morning show. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. What the hell was going on Greg Giannotti's show? Also, that whole hype video of him wanting to get a contract, and now a cherry on top of him going on this podcast and just destroys Tiki for no reason whatsoever. Tiki said that Saquon was dead to him. Ryan Clark was a D-bag in that locker room. I told this story last time. Tiki Barber told you how not to be, and Tiki was doing the right thing in the locker room because you were a dick. Gio pointed at a time in the locker room when Clark undressed a reporter for asking an innocent question, when he says was one of many examples that make Clark a hypocrite for piling on Tiki. You're the classy guy, my ass you are, Greg said. Don't sit up on some high horse thinking you're the professional in the room and Tiki Barber's some jerk that didn't treat you right. Stop it, okay? What was the question? The media asks stupid questions all the time. They are the dumbest bastards on TV. They are dumb. The media is dumb in this country. We know what they're all about. They're dumb. And this is the kind of crap you get from the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny farm.